Okay, this is part 3. I forgot to add certain parts into it, but this is the third part, and this is more about spacing of the beads. So here, I did my last section of the color wheel or fire colors. So you can see I have all the colors put on there, going from the gold to basically black gold, white gold, black gold, back and forth. Either way, but if you see, if I curve it into the section, the beads don't line up here. If you put it in there, it's short. I mean, some of you guys might freak out because there's not enough beads and you guys want to go and add more and want to fill out all the spacing, but you don't want to do that because you got to have allowance for the thread to be in between the beads, and adding those, it does add that little bit. So this is what a couple hairs take. So you realize it'll grow every time you add your beads to it. So here it is. It is centered, like I said, in the center. Every 2 beads. So it'll slowly grow as you progress on. Like I said, the thread has to fit between the beads. Okay. So I'm going through just beating the section through. Every 2 beads, like I said. Just going through, going through. So you're not pushing forward all the way through. I did intentionally use smaller beads for this, just to show that once you get closer, it's not gonna stretch all the way. But that's an issue you guys may run into, that the beads are like one short or a couple of beads short. So once you get about halfway through your design, roughly, I guess a third of it on your line that you're trying to fill in, like so. So you can see it is definitely short by about 1 bead. So with here, you can actually kind of space that more and space your beads out. Instead of pushing it forward, you can space them out ever so, or take your whole thing apart and add the bigger bead in there. But for this, I'm just going to space it out a little more here. Just run the bead out. So you see I put a bigger space in there. Which kind of like a, just small enough, not too big where it to be like a big gap, because all these little spaces do add up. So you kind of just wiggle it around, kind of make it 1 needle thick, just so that it's not noticeable to the eye quickly. So you see I'm getting closer to the end. So I'm kind of just letting it go and holding this loosely as I can, as loose as I can. So you see, as I put it through, kind of pulls it apart a little bit. So I'm kind of going forward a little bit and just spacing it forward. So I get to the end, I can get nice and close to the piece. So if you look closely, you can see the spaces in between there. It's not as tight as here. So you see these are nice and tight. That one's really tight because I had to kind of force them in. You saw it before. And this one here, I did use smaller beads, so I did that to space out more. So there's like gaps in between there. So here and there, all over. But it's not noticeable from a distance from here. So you can space them out, or you can push them together if you need to. So there's not always where it has to be super tight with the beadwork. But if you're just spacing it, try to space it at least, or no bigger than a width of a needle. So like I said, I put it between there, and I kind of wiggled it around as I was pushing. Put it wiggle around so you can see that's the space of a needle and that's the space of a needle. So it does move. So when you do have it there, you can rub it and it'll kind of even it out between the beads. So I did go between the couple beads there. I'm going to tack that last bead down and go through. So if it's too tight, or if there's too many beads, you can squish forward from here. Like halfway through your design, you want to actually test your spacing. Then you get, if you're going to be like one more over, then you can kind of take that bit off and kind of adjust your beads and get a smaller bead. Or if not, you can force it forward. Force the beads in, just not so much where it's going to be having your beads pop up. Or like it is here, if it was short, then you can kind of space it out a little more with your needle. So this is kind of a little tidbit I wasn't throwing there, because another guy's asking like, how do you get your spacing so good? Because like I said, I force it in the sections, or I kind of space it out so it fits in there. So it kind of works hand in hand of doing both. If forcing, you if you need it, just having it lay natural and go through, or if it's not, the beads are kind of small, you can just kind of let them flow out more and self-space itself out with your needle. So that's something that not a lot of people show or do. They just kind of throw stuff in there and like, oh, it's too short. What I do, add more beads. Not necessarily. You don't have to. You just kind of know your beads, know your spacing. When you get familiarized with doing those little steps, forcing if we need to, or having your beads relax. Okay, thank you for watching, and I'll get back to you in the next one.